First time in a long time, but back like I never left. Taking each day as it comes, you know me, I don't read ahead. Watch me burn down everything, BDE on the TV set. When I'm in control on the road, you can never really know what's up next.
I was muted. Hello.
Hello.
Hello. Braden Herrington here with Davie Portman for Up Next. You found us wherever you found your podcast, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, postwrestling.com, and we are
live on youtube.com/postwrestling. Hello, YouTube room. Hello, Postmarks.
Hello, Postmarks. Hello, Poison Pals. And more importantly, hello, NXT friends. We are live right now, Tuesday night. We go live here every night on the Post Wrestling feed. We are your NXT friends, and we will be talking about some NXT. The NXTNA teamwork continues. It makes the dream work, and we're going to chat about some Rascalz and some. Don't say his name because he might just appear, but he will be appearing on next week's show for sure. But we're going to dive into everything NXT here today. So if you're not familiar with us, search Poisonrana in your podcast app or your socials and give us a little follow. Check out all the other shows that we do because we love to talk about some wrestling, and that's what we're here today to do. But how you feeling, Davie?
I'm okay. Yeah. If you listen to our Sunday show or if you're watching on YouTube, you might see we're in separate rooms. Yeah, I got bitten again. I've been off with COVID for the last few days. Today was like the first day I'm like feeling a bit more back to myself. Like I don't feel my voice is still quite there, and I'm still getting like, you know, we live right by the Rogers Center where there's some stairs, and I'm like gassed going up those stairs. Like when I went to like just stretch my legs today. But yeah, I'm getting there. So hopefully I'll be back to normal in a couple of days.
Excellent. Well, I hope you're feeling better, and I hope we're sounding okay. We got new mics. Well, you got a new mic, at least in the BDE, right?
Yeah, we've been trying some new things. I think on a couple of our shows recently, we've had a few audio issues, and it's just because we're kind of experimenting and playing around. But please let us know if you are watching live how we're sounding right now. I think we still need to do a few tests and get everything all set up all nicely. But I'm excited. I've got one of these arm things now. Looks
look at
cool.
us, cranes. Here live on the Post Wrestling YouTube. If you want to help support us buying these new mics, you can send in a super chat during this stream here because it'll go towards us, the boys. And hey, if you want to support your boys even more, you can go to chop-tees.com/Poisonrana. You can get yourself a fancy looking snapback. There's so many different variations. You can get the t-shirts, hoodies, and button-up shirts with the frogs all over it, including matching shorts. And appreciate all the love out there for anyone who's been rocking it this summer. Really love to see the photos and everything. So that's how you can support us. And you can also support us by going to patreon.com/Poisonrana. For $5 to become a friend, you can access hundreds and hundreds of different podcasts that we've done over the past few years, including everything that comes out this month. We are doing a review of Hot Rod this week. Shout out Brent Nichols.
Are indeed.
He usually picks cowboy movies, but this one is
he picks a lot of cowboy movies. So what screams cowboy as Andy Samberg on a motorbike?
When I think of cowboys, I think of Andy Samberg. Exactly.
Absolutely,
so we're gonna be chatting about that movie. It's definitely a weird comedy cult classic that I know it's got some fans out there and some haters out there. So it'll be interesting to chat about that. So that's a show coming out this week on the Patreon. But in a week or so, we'll be reviewing. Did we have a winner for the SummerSlam tadpole?
It is SummerSlam 1994 that we'll be talking all about. Yes. So good. Undertaker v. Undertaker. Is that Doc Gallows?
No, it's Brent Brandon Lee, not the Crow Brandon Lee, a different Lee. I forget now.
Brian
Lee. Sorry, is that 911? I'm forgetting. Yeah,
yeah,
a big
it's
tall
one,
lad,
it's
one of those guys. Yeah, I mean, most tall dudes could look like the Undertaker if they wanted to. So, yeah, I'm excited to do that review because SummerSlam '94. I don't believe I've actually watched it in full, but I know that's got I think Leslie Nielsen, the Naked Gun crossover involved as well, plus Brett v. Owen inside a cage 5-star match there. So definitely looking forward to that. So there's some shows coming out, plus all these other shows. Like I said, $5 to support your boys is how you can do that. Patreon.com/Poisonrana. And appreciate all the love for some of the shows that we put out in the past little while. It's always welcomed, and I appreciate it very, very much. We've done a few free shows too, right? I know.
Sorry, I was just going to say, if that's a stretch, signing up for the Patreon, we do have some free stuff we can offer you as well on our Poisonrana feed. Just search Poisonrana wherever you get your podcasts. And well, I know you just recorded something yesterday.
Yes, I did a special detox. If you've ever listened to the Detox and you need to detox your brain and escape for an hour or so about nonsense and silliness, this is the show for you. We don't really talk about wrestling too much, but Jordan and I talk about music and all sorts of stuff. But we had a little bit of a guest on. Shout out local Toronto up-and-coming singer-songwriter Ivan Rivers, the folk icon, and we chatted a bit about some music and some interesting topics, including Hello Kitty. And then live on a podcast, I had a window washer join in on the show. If that's not a sell to listen to this show, I don't know what is. But shout out Victor, the window washer, who even joined in by the end of the show. So we had lots of guests on this podcast, but this was a pretty fun show. So go check that out. That's on the free feed, as well as our show from Sunday, where Davie and I chatted everything else in the world of wrestling. If you're an AEW fan, this is definitely for you. We chatted about the build to All In, the potential All In 25 Texas show, ? Plus all the other stuff from Collision, Dynamite, MJF, Ospreay, and so much more, and main roster stuff and everything. So
Slammiversary, G1, all of that.
Oh yeah, Slammiversary with NXT being present on the show as well. So we had quite a fun show on Sunday. So go check that out as well. It's also on our YouTube. So again, search Poisonrana to find all those lovely.
Yeah, Braden's going to be away this weekend, but I'm going to be joined by Stephanie Chase at 2 p.m. Eastern time on the Poisonrana YouTube channel to talk all about this week in the world of pro wrestling. We'll be talking about tomorrow's Dynamite, which is going head to head with Joe Biden's big speech from the Oval Office. Yeah, crazy stuff going on with US politics right now. So I'm sure we'll be getting excuses come Thursday ratings for this week's Dynamite, but valid, pretty valid this week, I'd say. And I'm sure I'll be previewing SummerSlam as well with Steph, who I may or may not be going. I still don't know if I'll be there. I've got my ticket, got my accommodation, just haven't got approval quite yet. So, but yeah, I'll be previewing SummerSlam, talking about this week in AEW and WWE with Steph.
Yes, excellent. So again, search Poisonrana, hit that subscribe, and check out all the shows. You'll be going live on our YouTube at 2 p.m. on Sunday, so check that out. And yeah, you said you're on the fence of going to SummerSlam because of work and shifts and things like that. However, if you're listening, you're like, too bad I can't go to SummerSlam. I just want to see Solo Sikoa versus Cody Rhodes so bad. But you're like, I don't want to watch it at home since I'm not going. If you're in the Toronto area, why not come watch it with the Poisonrana pals at Gabby's August 3rd, 7 p.m. start time. Remember, WWE likes to start things early now, so make sure you come around 6 or 6:30 to get your spot. But go to Poisonrana.ca. It's $10 or so to get a ticket, and we're gonna have our drink specials, our wrestling drinks, our games, our prizes. We got some cool prizes to give away at this event too, and it's always fun watching wrestling with other fans, and I know SummerSlam is one of the big ones, and I feel like we're going to have a lot of people coming out and partying, and it's going to be a fun time. So yeah, Toronto, GTA area, get your tickets, and would love to see you there because we will. Davie might be there. Davie will be watching it at the bar or at the venue.
Honestly, it's like I kind of knew a couple of weeks ago that I might not be able to go, that things are kind of falling apart a bit, especially like this week I've been taken off the schedule because I've been sick. So I'm like, I should probably stay and work, although I've already bought my ticket. But I'm kind of like, you know what? If I have to stay, I don't mind so much because these events are always so much fun. I get to hang out with our lovely listeners and other fellow wrestling enthusiasts in the GTA. We get it on the big screen. We get all the sound on. It's always a party. So you know what? If I'm not able to go to Cleveland for SummerSlam, I couldn't be anywhere better. I'm pretty. I'll be pretty excited staying here at Gabby's and watching the event.
Yes, absolutely. We usually have a fun time. People like to get rowdy and enjoy the graps, whether or not you're excited about SummerSlam as much as some people are or not. I think it'll be a fun show and definitely a fun watch along. And hey, while sticking with the Toronto audience, if you're in the Toronto area and you've not been to a Demand Lucha show, I don't know what you're doing, because these are the most fun wrestling events in the city. And I swear by that. They're doing a huge show this Thursday, Parkdale Hall. Search Demand Lucha, I believe demandlucha.com, because it's maybe the last time we get to see the Motor City Machine Guns on the independents, at least in Toronto, because they're taking on Gringo Loco and Arez, which these two have been an awesome team, especially on the indies. Shout out Gringo for making his Collision debut this past week. He's one of the real ones and one of my favorite guys to watch. So Demand Lucha never misses. And I would just honestly recommend it because it's just so much fun. And we've seen so many of our listeners and got to meet so many of our listeners through there as well. So hopefully maybe we'll see you there as well.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to this. I'm hoping I'm able to go as well.
Yeah, depending if we're able to go.
Everything's card subject to change with Davie.
We might not be able to go.
but still, no, this sounds awesome. As you said, Motor City Machine Guns, they've started kind of going around dropping the titles they have in various indie feds and stuff. It looks like they're going to be landing somewhere soon. Booker T was talking on Busted Open just the other day, saying like he thinks it would be a travesty if they don't end up in WWE, considering, you know, they've been everywhere for forever. So I see that being the landing spot, I think, for these guys. But yeah, Gringo and Arez, they're always killing it. Like, obviously, Gringo, he's been a guest on this show a couple of times. But yeah, I think that match sounds phenomenal.
Yeah, that match alone. But usually it's a lot of the guys that I'm not super familiar with that they put on the show. And then we're like, who are these guys? And then in the next few months, they blow up. We've seen so many stars kind of.
They show up as a hologram somewhere. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, a Power Ranger. You can hear us talk about that on Poisonrana, but we love to see Gringo and definitely need to see more Gringo Loco on AEW TV. And then I'm trying to think of what else. What else do we have to talk about before we jump into some NXT? I feel like
we've made an announcement. 4 announcements, and I think we should get it out there. We've given you the lineup for July. July is coming to an end in a week or so. And then August, we've already got so many plans. If you follow our Patreon, we did a Best Match Ever Europe Part 1 just the other month. And with All In and Bash in Berlin coming, we're going to do a Part 2 about that. So all of our regular programming, Best Match Ever, Was Next, some crazy movie reviews and Up Yours picks. But that's not enough. We want to keep ourselves even busier for about 16 months or so.
16 or 17?
16 for now. Again, card subject to change. But yes, we were at Money in the Bank just a couple of weeks ago in Toronto when a certain John Cena came out and announced his retirement, that he's going to be doing 40 odd dates over the next year and will be finishing it up at the end of next year. So, Braden, how are we going to celebrate this?
That's right.
The life of John Cena.
Yeah.
Because we can't just do one show, no?
No. This doesn't. John Cena, the GOAT, as some people call him. I mean, you can't just do a profile on John Cena. You can't just do a best match ever on John Cena. No. Cena's retiring because he wants to do more movies and hopefully a Ricky Stenicki Part 2. However, it's time for John Cena to retire, but the time is now to announce our brand new monthly podcast. The Champ is here. Yes, that's right. For the next 16 months, we will be doing a show once a month covering the entire career of John Cena. And more importantly, each show will focus the before and after and each title win in his 16-time title wins in WWE. And throughout these next 16 months, we will be joined by 2 guests on each show, from the Post Wrestling Network to all these other podcasts out there. We are going to be lining up some really fun stuff for you in the next year and some odd change. So for you John Cena fans, this is exactly up your alley. And even if you're not a John Cena fan, hell, maybe you can go back and learn what you've been missing out on. John Cena, the doctor of thugonomics. The Champ is here, and that's the name of the show. The Champ is here. We will be going month by month through each title win and then kind of looking at everything else going on in the career of John Cena. And I think we can announce our first episode will be next month in August, and Davie and I will be joined by NWA Pods, Andrew Thompson and Nate Milton. Oh yeah, I'm excited about this one. Not only are we going to be chatting about John Cena versus JBL at WrestleMania 21, but we will also be discussing You Can't See Me, the John Cena album, platinum selling album, mind you. So I am over the moon excited. I'm more excited than a friggin' ham sandwich, as John Cena would say.
Yeah, I'm really excited about this one. I think we're going to kind of go in the same vein as the profile shows we've been doing. So obviously focusing mainly on the title win, but kind of how he gets there. So like Rumble wins or, promo segments leading up to the match. And then maybe talk a little bit about the defenses during that run. So each episode is going to be one kind of title reign, but looking in particular at the actual title win. There's blind spots for me in this one because like a good chunk of Cena's wins was during kind of my dark period. By the time I got back into wrestling, he was already on 12 or whatever. So some of these are going to be fresh to me as well, which is quite exciting. But yes, obviously starting with the WrestleMania 21, I believe.
That's right.
Is that correct? Against JBL and Nate and Andrew, no better guests we could have. These guys are absolutely fantastic and can't wait to chop it all up about John Cena.
Absolutely. This is going to be a great series of podcasts over the next little while. And I think the first one's going to launch here on the Post Wrestling Network and our free feed over on Poisonrana. So it'll be available for everyone there. But we'll be going through the whole history of John Cena and would love some feedback and things like that. We'll be throwing feedback threads up and everything through his entire career of everything that's happened. And maybe by the end of this, after, 16 months, who knows? Maybe we'll have to do a 17th show by the time next year's WrestleMania comes around. Maybe John Cena gets lucky in Vegas and beats Ric Flair's record. I don't think it would be too crazy to put some money on that.
Who knows? Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, that will mean we'd need to do double 1 month because it's actually lined up perfectly. Seeing that he does, I'm assuming he retires in December. He might just be like, no, it's September, and then we'll be like, fuck, we'll have a busy few months.
We'll just have to rush through these.
We'll just rush through it. Sorry, what's next? You're on a hold.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, really
looking forward to
this and can't wait for all your feedback for this as well.
Absolutely. So again, follow all the socials at Poisonrana Pod on Twitter and Instagram. Go give us a follow if you haven't already and keep updated with everything. We're also on Facebook. If you find us, like the page, but there's a Facebook group you can join, and we share all fun stuff in there as well. So looking forward to it. Lots and lots of podcasting coming soon in the next little while. But should we talk about the show we're here to talk about?
Yeah, let's do it.
Because I saw something NXT related, I guess you could say. So if you've noticed, we went to Mania this year and they did those like WWE like tours. So like in Philly for Mania, they would take you to like the ECW venue and then the Hall of Fame, and you get like meet and greets and stuff like that. For Toronto and Money in the Bank, they did something like Trish Stratus. You have breakfast with her or something, for something kind of strange and bizarre, right? But they have a new one for this SummerSlam. I saw that WWE and Shawn Michaels are tweeting out that you can now buy a ticket to go watch the WWE tryouts in Cleveland SummerSlam weekend. And that kind of sounds pretty interesting, right? Like they've never opened the doors for an outside audience to be there while they run these kind of, training programs and tryout programs. And then I clicked the price. And then I realized I don't think your everyday wrestling fan can afford a $700 plus ticket to go watch this. However, maybe you can afford this, and maybe that's something up your alley. And if anyone is attending this or going to this or wants to plan to go to this, please let us know how it is, because that sounds quite interesting. I just don't know if that's like you could buy.
I imagine that includes a tour of the PC and that kind of thing. I would think.
But no, it's not in the
Cleveland.
PC.
It's in Cleveland.
It's in Cleveland.
Oh,
no, so it's gonna be you get like you get a meet and greet with Tiffany and I think Jimmy Uso or Jay Uso. Sorry, I think. But like,
do they feed you?
For that price, they better like. I don't know. That's insane. Like, what the hell? You better get yeeted all over the place for that.
Although I would enjoy going just to watch which veterans get pissed off because someone doesn't shake their hand or whatever,
Right. That who pisses off Booker?
Yeah, who pisses off Booker for no reason?
Yeah, that'll probably happen. But pretty interesting that they've kind of decided to open the doors and maybe get media involved and stuff like that. But pretty cool for tryouts, because who knows, you could be there and you could see the tryout for the next big thing in WWE as we've seen in the past. So pretty cool and pretty interesting. But I don't think that's on our bucket list just yet. I mean, you're potentially going to Cleveland, but I don't know if you're gonna drop that dough.
I'll see if I can get one on the day.
Yeah, yeah. WrestleTix says no.
My old
the
trick,
numbers.
Yeah.
Maybe still a bigger audience than the Collision show in that esports arena, but we'll see. Which was actually pretty cool. I thought that was pretty cool. But let's talk about some NXT here today. From July 23rd, 2024. We start things off here with Trick Williams, the former NXT champion. He shows up in the parking lot, gets out of his car, no shirt on, leaves the door open. I guess they have like a concierge or some sort of what is it? What do you call it when the car like
a valet?
Yeah, they must, because he just like swung that door open, and also he was driving without a shirt. I mean, if cops caught you and he was still champion, they'd strip him of the title right away. You can't be driving with a shirt on,
though, isn't it?
Yeah, true. Yeah.
Yeah, where did Robbins? Was it Robin Sabu?
Yeah, driving shirt.
It might have been in a different state.
How, like they got. Yeah. Florida, like people are driving naked for sure. It's hot. Yeah. Like I don't blame them. So Trick shows up. He's all hot about Ethan Page and still has his mind on the NXT title. And he goes in through the arena, and basically Shawn Michaels has given him the first few minutes of the show to get something off his chest. But when he's going through Gorilla here, he's met by Cedric Alexander, who just recently came back to NXT, and he's kind of like being cool, calm, and collective, and being pretty nice to Trick and being like, hey, maybe you're not like level-headed here, and he kind of tries to stop him, and Trick's like, no, I gotta get out there. So he goes right out, his music hits, the crowd is hype, Booker T is hype. Is it safe to say Booker T was on one tonight?
Always.
Yeah, exactly. We need that on a shirt. So Trick has a microphone, and he says, I just ain't been the same since losing the title. And Ethan Page, he wormed his way and stole it from me without actually, pinning me. So I want another shot at it, and I want my title back. But this is when Cedric Alexander's music hits, and he comes out and he goes, man, I tried to tell you, I tried to warn you, this is not how you do this. You gotta have what it takes. And he kind of mentions that he's had, history with WWE and NXT and main roster. And he goes, I've been a champion and I know what it takes. And you need to like think things through. When Ashantee, the Adonis, comes out, Tahuti Miles.
Yes.
Did they change his name? Because I swear it was Ashantee with an I, and now it's Ashantee. Could be wrong.
It's Ashantee. Double E, right?
Double E.
Ashantee.
Okay. Yeah. He comes out and basically says like, whoa, like Trick, you dropped the ball and I'm here to pick it up. And Trick kind of laughs at him and goes, man, I don't care if you had a group, you couldn't even get the ball off the ground. And then mocks his old stablemates and goes, hit row, a definite throwback there. And Ashantee is just like very, very upset that Trick did this, but the crowd were really into that. Eventually Cedric kind of says like, hey, I think you're mistaking my kindness for like hostility here. And I don't understand. You're not listening to me. And Trick's like, man, I don't want to listen to you. Like basically says, who are you guys? I've been the NXT champion and you guys haven't. And Cedric says, oh, is that so? You think you're better than me? Well, why don't we kind of settle this? And they kind of make it a match for later tonight between Cedric and Trick. And then this is when Ashantee gets in his face again, and Trick just decks him. He punches him and then sends him out of the ring. And then he has a stare down with Cedric. So Cedric v. Trick later tonight.
There's which I don't think we've heard before, a go to the back chant as Cedric was trying to send Ashantee back. So
get out of here. Go to the back.
Go to the back. Go to the back. Yeah, I found this. I think it's going to take a little bit of time for me to get used to Ashantee and Cedric on NXT again. And I felt the crowd kind of felt that way. It almost reminded me of, remember that first week of 2.0 when we knew Mello, but then Trick Williams just appeared out of nowhere. And there was just an awkward, like, segment between the two as if we're meant to know their relationship and the audience were just, like, on their hands. And I kind of got that here. Although we do know Ashantee and Cedric more so, I still felt this crowd was like, oh, is there backstory we're meant to know here that hasn't really been explained? Like, do these guys go back a long way? I thought Trick has seemed pretty level-headed for a guy who lost his title. So I didn't find Cedric's reasoning particularly, like, it wasn't like Trick was storming in, smashing up stuff and storming to the ring. He came in like Trick normally does, says hello to people, he's off to the ring. He seemed pretty level-headed to me, which didn't justify really Cedric's way. And in a way, it reminded me of, as well, take Team Taz's name out your mouth. Sorry, what? Like, you said you're better than me? No, I didn't say that.
I didn't even mention you.
No, exactly.
I don't care about you.
It felt a little bit like that. So I think it's going to take a few weeks to kind of flesh these characters out a bit. So it just felt very cold for me. Ashantee is doing some nice things that I think will start catching on and has a few moments later on in the show. But yeah, just felt quite cold. And I think it's a lack of us being used to these characters in NXT at the moment.
Yeah, because even if you watch everything and like main roster, maybe you recognize Cedric and Ashantee, but their runs haven't been like Cedric more than Ashantee, obviously, but like they haven't been prominent characters really for quite a while. I feel like these guys haven't even been on TV in a long time. So to have them back down here is obviously a choice, because it's like, well, we got really nothing for you. You can help other people. Maybe this can help rehab your like characters here as well. So I didn't mind it, but yeah, it was kind of weird that like Cedric is, because later it's like, is he even really a heel? He was kind of like, yeah.
No, right. I don't think so. I think they're doing the like Ashantee is, but Cedric not so much. And I was worried they were going to give him almost this Sean Spears character as well, where he's trying to take people, under his wing.
Ashantee?
But, no, Cedric. No, the way he's like, trying to like teach Ashantee how to behave, and Trick, you should be calming down and that kind of thing. I was worried that he's going to be this other mentor figure. We should probably mention, while we're on the subject of Cedric, but the likelihood of Bobby Lashley and MVP leaving WWE.
Yeah, I mean, so Cedric is part of the Hurt business, right? The Hurt Locker. And I feel like those two are gone. MVP putting out his tweet saying deuces, and it seems like Bobby Lashley is going to be released as well, or if not, has already. So I'm wondering if they were like, oh, we'll keep Cedric, and they clearly weren't really sure what to do with him. But I'm sure we will see MVP and Bobby Lashley appear on some sort of wrestling show in the very near future. I mean, if I'm not mistaken, did not MVP reference in interviews that he originally pitched for Ricochet to be in the Hurt business? And Ricochet is also a free agent. And if you have MVP, like I call him because he would dress so he had the cane, like almost like an evil pimp daddy. MVP with like the mouthpiece for a Ricochet would be pretty entertaining. And I'm not the biggest Bobby Lashley fan, but he's still a name. He's still big. He's still popular. So I'd expect to see them pop up somewhere pretty soon, whether it's AEW or TNA or something. Obviously, he's been in TNA before, but
yeah, I mean, AEW, we say a lot, like they've got so many people on their roster, but you know, Bobby Lashley, he's multi-time world champion, and like he's a big deal and recognizable. And I think, whereas like I would like to see somewhere have another go with the Hurt Business idea, because it was definitely cut like way too soon and could have been something really big. And whereas rather than kind of AEW trying to do their own Undisputed Era thing that never really took off, I do see an idea of a Hurt Business working with, whether it be, I mean, Shelton's a free agent as well. So you could have Lashley, Shelton, and MVP and add a Ricochet. Or, I mean, Leo Rush has been back and forth with AEW. I think he has that history with Lashley as well. I think that could work. And actually, like really try to push it as a thing, because I think it could be, I think it could work. I think we saw it worked in WWE, and they just cut the legs from underneath it for no apparent reason. So I'm quite interested in a way. He doesn't, Lashley doesn't scream a AEW wrestler to me, but maybe the whole act going over could possibly work.
Yeah, like to me, Lashley's not a draw. He's definitely one of my least interesting wrestlers to watch, but as a whole unit, it works. Like as long as he's not the main feature, I feel like he could be kind of put as more of the side, you know, the handler, bigger guy and stuff, because he's usually like the main part of the group, but he was he's so boring in ring for me, at least to watch. But you can't deny that he's got still like star power and people know who he is and everything. But
I don't think they're gonna just have him as a heavy. Like if you're getting Bobby Lashley, you're treating him as a big deal.
I just feel like if you had like the younger guys, I mean, like they had Cedric or Shelton, like focus. Really, it should be Ricochet. If that does like work out, that would be pretty awesome. But that's just kind of hoping and guessing. But I'd say Ricochet is going to show up in AEW sooner than later, regardless. So with MVP would be a really like good plus to that character. But maybe Cedric joins them down the line, because I don't really know what's going to happen with him here in NXT, quite frankly. So I guess we'll see. What would they call themselves? They're Hurt Business.
Pain professionals.
Pain work or hurt. Yeah. Pain work. Pain
operations.
Pain. Yeah. Operations. Yeah. Pain operations. The PO. Yeah. Something like that. Workshop the name for sure. Yeah. We go to Ethan Page. He shows up here earlier today. He's talking to, is it Tyson and Tyreek? And they're kind of clowning him like, oh, you got pinned last week. And he's like, no, I didn't. What are you talking about? And they're like, yeah, Oro pinned you like 1, 2, 3 in the middle of the ring. Everybody saw it. He's like, no, it wasn't official. And they kind of chirp him and he walks off. He's like, you're not worth my time. And you can see
like Page could have just gone, guys, I haven't seen you win a match yet. Fuck off. You know, like,
I don't know who you are.
What have you done here? Like,
yeah. But they're the ones chirping him for that. We then cut to our opening contest. It's sort of brother v brother, at least to us it is. Brooks Jensen taking on Josh Briggs. And as Briggs makes his entrance through the tunnel here, Briggs is attacked by Brooks Jensen right away here. They start brawling all the way to the ring as the match starts. This is a no disqualification match. This is a rematch where we've seen these guys fight as friends, former tag team partners, but this is now the next step, the next evolution in their brotherly rivalry. And
the last time we had was when Brooks was, all dressed up and doing his hair for Kiana and all that.
Yeah,
and the Briggs had to beat some sense into him. Yeah,
right. Oh, remember he used to wear that shirt? I like his attire here. He's rocking a beautiful, and I mean beautiful. It's a white button-up shirt that he's wearing, like or tied around something with what looked to be a little nod to his dad, Bull Buchanan, with the right to censor attire here. So a no DQ, no censor from Brooks Jensen here. I like that little nod there. Brooks is like beating him down, but eventually Briggs comes back, and right away this crowd here in NXT start chanting, "We want tables," and Briggs took that to heart and choke slams Brooks right through the commentary desk right away. This got a crazy reaction. I'm sure Vic was holding onto his candy for dear life here, but we go to picture in picture as Brooks tries to like regain himself. But this was pretty great. Like right away, choke slamming him through this table. If you watched picture in picture, you would see that Brooks does come back and he grabs a trash can and he puts it over Briggs and then does like a run up drop kick into the corner, which is pretty good. Eventually, they're now using all sorts of different weapons. There's like a piece of the table that's being used. There's then a kendo stick that's brought into play. And Brooks looks over at Vic and says, "Oh, I got 3 strikes, right?" And then 1, and he swings at Briggs, 2, and another, and 3rd. Yes, sir, he gives him another because Briggs's back had these crazy, like gnarly looking cuts and slashes all across it from these strikes. Jensen goes for a pile driver on the steel steps. I like his new attitude here, but it's blocked. And then he gets back suplexed onto the steps, which got a crazy holy shit chant from the crowd. They go at it again with double big boots. And then he grabs what looks to be a spray painted white chair, which could definitely tip you off of what was going to happen next, because Shawn Spears shows up on the apron and kind of looks at Briggs, distracts him, and Briggs is like, "Oh no, not this fucking guy." He turns around and Brooks nails him and then hits a DDT onto the chair and pins him. Brooks Jensen gets his revenge on his former tag team partner and finally beats him here on NXT in a pretty new violent side of Brooks Jensen in a pretty fun match. But what did you think?
Yeah, I thought this was an awesome opener. I think you can tell when people are, genuinely close in wrestling because they often beat the shit out of each other even more. When they're like friends, they don't hold back, and you really got that sense. Like there was that talk before the match. Hey, look, if you hurt me a bit today, whatever, let's just go out and have a good one. Because I thought this was great. I thought without using like a whole load of different weapons, it was only really limited to the kendo stick and the steps mainly. I thought they did some really kind of brutal spots and like that backdrop on the steel stairs and stuff. It was, and when you get like a visible, obviously like blood is the big one, but the welts and stuff you react to and you can see that these guys are kind of hurting each other, it brings you into it more. So I thought this was pretty fun to open it, and I do like this new edge for Brooks Jensen.
Yeah, it was a great opener. Like easily his best match on NXT. Maybe both of them. Like I thought he really brought the violence. We saw like the new form of him last week, hitting some like kind of more extreme looking moves, and in this match too, he was trying to go for like some like obscure kind of wrestling moves that maybe we don't see all the time, like that back suplex, which is pretty nasty. But I'm loving this new rehabbed character of Brooks Jensen, and I'm saying that even though he's paired with the chairmaster, the learning chair, Shawn Spears, who I'm like, why are you here in NXT? I guess this is the reason why. I mean, there's a lot of these characters that are like, okay, well, you'll be under my branch, like the learning tree kind of thing. But I think this one's kind of working because he's not really been associated. We teased that we knew he was the one in the car, but I think this is totally working for Brooks Jensen because he's this like young, 22-year-old kid. And he had a character. They gave him a silly virgin character, and now they've completely turned him around and made him something so far a lot more interesting. He's doing like way more extreme looking moves. He was kind of dressed like Raven from ECW and then hit the even flow DDT as well. So he's definitely being inspired from all these different types of wrestling. And I can't wait to kind of see the next evolution. But I thought this was really great. And if you've been listening to us, we've been loving Brooks and Briggs for since they've come here in 2.0, and it's great to kind of see them come a long way. So I think it's really working, and I'm excited to see what happens going next. So no more virgin drinks for Brooks Jensen, not at all, because he's a man now. He beat his boy Briggs.
We'll
But that
need
was
some
great.
whiskey after that match. Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely drinking the whiskey after that one for sure, boys. And then after the match, he kind of goes up the rampway, and Sean Spears kind of puts his hand on his shoulder and smiles. So you know that they are aligned in some way. And I'm wondering if this is some sort of a write-off for Josh Briggs, considering he's in the NOAH N1, which is happening soon. I
Starts
think so.
in 2 weeks, I think.
Okay,
10 days,
so
something like that.
we could have him back, but
yeah, I thought we'd have a bit of a bigger write-off for him if this was it, because
maybe if it's in a few weeks, though, there could be something else, like him versus Sean Spears, and then
you'd need it. Yeah,
or the following week, right? Like there's time. There's definitely time. We see the tag team champions Axiom and Nathan Frazer backstage, and they're chatting, but Axiom says he needs to talk to Frazer about something when the Rascalz show up from TNA, hot off their win from Slammiversary on Saturday night in Montreal. And Trey Miguel mentions that, MSK here never really lost the tag team titles. So it would be kind of cool if they maybe had another crack at those titles. And Axiom and Frazer are like, yeah, okay, we could see that. And he goes, but there's 3 of you. And Wentz says, well, this is the Rascalz reunion tour. So we're fighting the 3 of us for a little bit. And I mean, there's 3 of us and 2 of you. It looks like you need to find a partner. And they say that they will find a partner tonight to face the Rascalz in the main event, which already screams take my money, but just wait till you find out who their partner is. And after the Rascalz leave, Axiom mentions, I forgot to tell you, Frazer, that I'm going to be in WWE Speed Tournament. And Frazer's like, yo, what the hell? I thought you told me to focus on the titles and everything. He goes, yeah, but you did it. And I'm going to do it too. So Axiom.
Yeah, he's like, I told you that 4 times and you kept booking yourself championship matches. So absolutely. I'm having a championship match.
So we're going to see Axiom on Speed coming up soon on your X. Twitter feed. Yeah, nice. Sorry, X. Yeah. It would be sick to see Axiom versus Hologram. They're pretty much same character, except Axiom's got a cooler entrance. That Hologram entrance didn't live up to the hype. But yeah, we will have a pretty cool main event later tonight with the Rascalz and our tag champions. We see Sol Ruca and Karmen, Petrovic, and Lola Vice all watching Stephanie Vacour take on Alba. Sorry, no, this was not Alba. This was Isla Dawn on the house show just a week or so ago. And they kind of are talking to each other like, oh, can't wait to see her in NXT. Like, oh, it'd be great to fight her and all that stuff. And they mentioned the tag team titles. Like, hey, has Isla and Alba even defended those things, those witches? When Miss Jackson and Lash Legend show up, and Lash wearing a very colorful dress, and basically say, like, what are you girls talking about? Like, talking about these new people coming in when you should be talking about us, the stars of NXT, which then ultimately sets up a match later tonight. Sol and Karmen versus the Metaphor coming up. But did you like Lash's dress? Was very, very summertime. It's like,
Metaphor always look great.
Very fashionable.
I'd go shopping with Metaphor for sure.
They'd probably take you to some cool spots. Yeah, for sure.
I'd love it. Yeah.
Speaking of fashionable, out comes the King, Lexis King, on his throne, making his entrance. This match, he's taking on Eddy Thorpe. It was set up because one of them, get this, one of them likes rock and roll music, and the other likes EDM. And they just can't get along, and therefore they're going to fight to find out which music genre is superior. So this starts off, and Booker T absolutely on one. I guess he's really happy that Lexis King shows up at Reality of Wrestling, because he's calling Lexis the king of television. He says this man equals ratings. He oozes charisma. And Vic is like, I'm not really understanding where you're coming from that. So these two start going at it, and Thorpe hits him with a pretty big looking lariat here. There's a bunch of like punches and strikes. This is part of the match where Lexis King does absolutely nothing. Eventually, though, hits a super kick, and then the running drive by, the like hip check to the back.
I think it's got a name now. Yeah, so it's a running forearm to the back of the head. But he always like stops off short. It doesn't look good. I think they're calling this the rockabye now.
No, Booker calls the coronation the rockabye because he swings with it. He doesn't call it the coronation, but he calls it the rockabye because he's always.
I thought because they said the setup for the coronation. I thought they were calling this the rockabye.
I'm pretty sure
I don't know.
Yeah, it sucks.
I call it
he
shit.
sucks.
It looks terrible.
It's the hidden lame, really, is what this means. It's supposed to be like the hidden blade kind of thing, but it's like it looks terrible. He goes for the coronation as Booker is cheering and hooting and hollering, but it's countered from Thorpe into an impaler DDT. Shout out Gangrel. And Eddie Thorpe pins Lexis King in pretty quick fashion here. But the story comes after the match because, oh boy, this feud is going to continue. Lexis takes his scepter and smashes it over the hand of Eddie Thorpe against the steel steps and says, "How you going to DJ now, buddy?" And he didn't say that, but he should have because I guess Eddie's now going to have an injured hand and won't be able to DJ. And I imagine we go to a rematch of this down the line. But Lexis King, like you've been wrestling for a long time now. How do you still suck so much? Like I love that he's a hated character and he's a heel and this and that. But when it comes to his matches, like it is night and day. We see people come through this PC who are like new to this and pick it up faster and have way more exciting wrestling matches. And then and Eddie Thorpe is nothing too interesting either.
Well, they didn't wrestle like the story. Like they've had last week, Lexis came and smashed up his DJ set and stuff. Like, and then they just wrestled like it was any other match. Like, I feel when it's at a personal level, it should be more heated. And whereas they were just going through their basic wrestling moves and stuff. I do think Eddie's got like a nice smoothness to him. Like his transitions from move to move look very nice and fluid, but he's still just nothing overly exciting. And a feud with Lexis King just doesn't do it for me because he's just so bland in ring, so limited in ring.
Yeah, it just felt like a pretty quick and nothing match here, but I'm assuming this continues. Maybe we need like stablemates, like people defending EDM, people defending rock stars. It would work on the main roster with bigger names, but
like my problem was with it finishing so convincingly and quickly, they're going to a rematch. So you're like, oh, here comes the beatdown after. Yeah, I'd like to move on.
Yeah. We go backstage. Trick Williams is there. He says, "I'm not waiting for Paige. I want a rematch." And he's kind of like upset that he's now has a match tonight, but it's not the match that he wants. And he thinks he should get the match with Ethan Page. And once again, Pete Dunne is chilling in the back there. And he's kind of like, oh, you should just like, focus on yourself. And he's like, what the hell are you talking about? And this will come into play later as we kind of suspect.
He tells him to figure it out. He's like, just figure it out. You're doing, yeah.
Yep. Pete, maybe you should listen to your own advice. You're back in NXT again. Figure it out. Go to our next
feud on Raw. He's feuding at the moment. He's got a story. Okay. Yeah, he's feuding with Sheamus. There you go. Yeah.
So what's he doing down here?
He lives there.
Yeah, they all do.
he's bored on Tuesdays. Yeah.
Yeah, fair enough. We go to our next match.
Well, but he has been producing, hasn't he, Pete Dunne? He's been doing a lot of producer work backstage. Right. So I imagine that could probably have a bit to do with it as well, why he's in NXT.
Right. So we go to our next match. Ashantee the Adonis, Tahuti Miles, taking on Oro Mensah. And it's all because this is the storylines I like in my wrestling. This is all because last week when Ashantee came back to NXT, he made a pass at Jakara Jackson, and this has upset the rest of Metaphor, which set up this match here today. Booker on commentary is a very big fan of Jakara Jackson. Super big fan. Loves Jakara Jackson. Ora early on hits a beautiful-looking exploder suplex, but Ashantee comes back with a few series of strikes of his own. He sets up Mensah in the corner and hits his like Jeff Hardy-style drop kick, hitting him there. Looked pretty cool. Oro comes back with his rolling Liger capo kick for a near fall. Ashantee, the story here is he's very distracted by Lash Legend and Jakara on the outside. And Vic is like, oh, this Ashantee, look, he's not focused. He's distracted. He's got to keep his head in the game. And this is where Booker T, who is on one tonight, goes, come on, Vic, he's a man. Can you blame him? He's a man. Why you? And he just goes off on Vic Joseph like, wait, what's wrong with you, Vic? He just, he's liking what he sees here in NXT. I'm like, yeah, I understand that. Eventually, though, Oro hits a scissor kick, which Booker was like, okay, that was pretty good. And then a lion salt to the back, but it's only a 2 count. Ashantee comes back with a spine buster, but it's not enough to keep him down. And then Oro sends him into the corner and hits the running spin heel kick, I believe right before, again, Ashantee was distracted by Jakara on the outside. So Oro pins Ashantee here and then grabs the mic right away and says, Ethan, I know you remembered last week. 1, 2, 3. I pinned you. And then the crowd he starts to do 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And at first the crowd weren't really sure what he was doing, but it definitely worked later on. But a pretty quick match here, but Oro Mensah continues to be like a bit of a sleeper hit, an underrated talent, because whenever he wrestles, he usually surprises me.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's someone who has naturally got himself to this position. I mean, he's got a title match in next week or week after. So yeah, but I think when he first came in, I didn't see anything that really separated him from a lot of other wrestlers. But now I think his character's coming through. He's naturally got over with this audience. The just running attacks on Paige constantly has like got quite popular. But I've also found his wrestling a bit more interesting. I think he's got some quite unique offense, and he's really been stepping up in his matches. So although a short match, I think Ashantee's no slouch either. I thought they worked together pretty well. And yeah, I feel if you were to tell me 6 months ago Oro Mensah would be challenging for the title, I'd be going, what? That sounds awful. But I think he's really, really gotten himself over, and I'm enjoying his work.
Yeah, I'm kind of enjoying, like, he's been the lackey essentially in the group, but I've been enjoying not only his wrestling, but like his promo, his character work, and everything. I think he's kind of funny. I think he's got good comedy timing, and I don't know. Again, he's kind of been a sleeper hit here, so I am kind of happy they're giving him this like little feud with the NXT title and everything that we'll get to later on. But a pretty fun little match here, and Ashantee's been pretty funny too, as we'll see a little bit later on. So it might not be such a bad thing for him to be down here NXT, because he really didn't get the ball rolling, as kind of Trick said earlier. So maybe this is a good opportunity for him. We go backstage. We see the No Quarter Catch crew. They lost on Saturday, but their chins are still up. But they're not worried about that. They're worried about the fact that someone here in NXT has witnessed them murder Damon Kemp, and they better get to the bottom of it. And they got themselves a note. And it's like, I know what you did last summer. I know what you did. I saw what you did. And Charlie's showing this to Tony D and the family. And he's like, how do I deal with this? And Tony's like, oh, that's a little old school. Like, wow, they're just sending you this scary note. And he's like, but who is it? And he's like, come on, you know who it is. And Wren Sinclair shows up, and she says like, oh, I have my match tonight, and you better let me in this group, or else, like, if I don't win this match and you're not out there with me, like, who knows? I might be telling people. And they're kind of convinced that they have to go to the ring with her next. So they're a little hesitant, but I mean, what do you do? She could squeal, right? Like,
I'm enjoying this. I think this is working for me, and I think it's given Wren Sinclair something to do, who I found incredibly bland up until the last couple of weeks with this story. And I think it works. The kind of, she's playing up sort of the bubbliness and annoyingness just to juxtapose the rest of the group, which I think is going to play for some quite nice comedy, which we see a bit later on with Dempsey. But yeah, I'm quite enjoying this as a way to get Wren Sinclair in the NQCC.
So we go to this match. It's Wren Sinclair taking on Carlee Bright. Carlee's got her friend Kendall Gray. Try to keep track of who's who here with the rookies in NXT. But it's a one-on-one match. But Wren has the No Quarter Catch crew ringside, meaning Miles, Tavion, and Charlie. And then Tony D and the family are on the perch eating popcorn, as they said, well, let's get the popcorn for this one. So they're watching this match happen. And Booker T on commentary is like, oh, yeah, this match is happening because allegedly there was a crime. Allegedly. Make sure you say that word, Book, because you don't want them coming after you. This match starts off with both these women trying to do like technical style. There's like some arm counters, and eventually Wren locks in like this STF type submission, kind of turns it into a surfboard. Bright counters with a cool looking pin attempt, almost like a European clutch, and then it's countered, and she kind of kips up there. Very impressive athleticism. There's a drop kick off the top from Bright, and it really knocks Wren down, but she goes for the pin. Charlie puts Wren's leg on the rope, so the ref says, oh, sorry, she got rope break, which then continues. Eventually, Kendall Gray runs over and tries to, like, yell at them, and what does she, like, flip? She, like, arm judo flips Miles Bourne here, like, all across the outside, which was pretty impressive. Yeah. And then this kind of is a distraction, and then it allows, I think Wren gets a roll-up or something onto Kendall, and right in front of the ref, Charlie just pushes Wren Sinclair down so that Carlee cannot kick out of this, and Wren Sinclair gets the win here pretty quickly. So the no quarter catch crew helping Wren win, because she basically said, if I don't win this match with you guys there, I'm going to tell people that you murdered someone. So Charlie had to reach deep down into his old man's playbook here, fighting dirty, and helped her get the win. But what did you think?
I actually quite enjoyed this whole thing. I thought the match I thought was basic, but I actually quite enjoyed it because it looked like both were trying to wrestle each other, which I think a lot of the time, especially a lot of the time with the women's division, it's often like quite ambitious and trying to do gymnastic spots or whatever, which I enjoyed the Sol Ruca Kalani Jordan match, like, but sometimes I think I just want to watch them kind of try and wrestle and not think, okay, it's now this move and this move. And I thought this kind of was fairly fluid between the two. And then I'm enjoying the no quarter catch crew stuff. I quite liked the cheating as Dempsey just leaning on top of her for the pin. And I think this was the most regal we've ever seen Charlie Dempsey at the end of this match, where he was just rolling his eyes as Wren is celebrating with them, and he realizes like he's going to be stuck with this annoying girl moving forward. I thought this was a fun segment.
Like, William Regal was known as the OG villain, the mean Brit, but I'm pretty sure kayfabe wise never murdered anyone. So his son is already more dastardly than him.
All we saw was a
allegedly
being closed. No,
allegedly.
That's all we saw. That's all we know is Charlie Dempsey and his friends closed the boot of a car. That's all we saw.
We need Wren to squeal, but if she continues, I think I think they're going to continue this. I think they're going to continue. They keep making her win so that she doesn't tell anyone.
Yeah.
Like that's, if I lose, I'm just going to tell some people. So they're going to go
like the rest of her career, you know, like WrestleMania main event, winning the title just so.
If I lose, I'm telling everybody. By then, people will be like, who the fuck's Damon Kemp? Who did they kill? Oh, I mean, allegedly kill? Yeah. Only Wren Sinclair truly knows what happened in the NXT parking lot, but a lot of things happened there. So rip Damon Kemp, allegedly. We go to Hank and Tank backstage. They're excited about the Great American Bash. They're saying, wow, 2 weeks in a row. They need some huge hosts. And then they kind of look at each other like, oh, only if you're up for it. Oh, yeah. 2 bodacious belly boys, as they say. So they're like, yeah, maybe we could be the hosts. So Hank and Tank walk off, and he goes, walk with Walker. So they continue off. I like that. Walk with Walker. Hank Walker. Have you seen their food show? I don't think it's quite a cooking show, but they have feeding the tank with Hungry Hank on their Instagram. Like, okay. It's pretty funny. I think they've put out 2, but I'm seeing a lot of these NXT people do a lot of like YouTube and streaming and little social media videos and stuff. But I mean, these 2 guys look like they could really fuck up an all-you-can-eat buffet. So seeing them mukbang maybe is definitely something that will get them over. But they're so likable.
These are heavy machinery, aren't they? This is the new heavy machinery. Just which one's Tucker?
Ooh, yeah, that's tough. Is that the new Jannetty? No one like Jannetty at least is Jannetty, but like I don't even remember his name. Tucker. And you just said it. Tucker Knight.
Tucker Knight. Yeah.
Yeah. Tucker Knight, the guy who writes his promo on his hand, I believe. Wow.
No, you think of The Rock.
Yeah. Yeah, him too. So those guys walk off, and then the camera pans, and we see Axiom and Frazer kind of walking by the back, and they're still arguing. And Axiom's like, bro, like I told you, you've done it already. I'm going to do it, and I'm going to win and focus. And this is when Javon Evans interrupts. He goes, guys, I'm sorry to interrupt. I love you guys, but I saw you guys are looking for a partner, and I was wondering if you wanted me to team with you. And they look at each other, and they go, absolutely. So tonight, the Rascalz versus Axiom, Frazer, and Evans. And like I said, take my money because that sounds awesome. And trust me, it will be. So that is our main event later tonight. We go back.
As soon as that's announced, I was pretty excited about
that. It got leaked online, I guess, like the rundown or something, because a bunch of people were tweeting about it. So I was tipped off that it was happening, but I was like, oh wow, that definitely sounds good. And I hope it leads to a few more matches between some of these guys. We see Chase U is backstage. We have Riley and Duke, and they're like, Duke, you know, you did such a good job last week. You didn't beat Oba, but Riley says you took Oba to the limit. You almost had him, man. When we see Ridge walk in with a new Chase U shirt. This one's not red. Instead, it's black, like every other wrestling shirt, but now with the like inverted colors. Not to say that it's kind of like Chase U Wolfpack, like we've been saying for the past little while. It's like, oh, we're not red and black, we're black and red now. Wolfpack is back, and they're all happy, like, wow, great shirt. And they go, oh yeah, look, Thea's wearing hers in her sit-down interview, let's watch. And they kind of pan to, this is at least how people would watch things, because it always cuts to people like watching last week's show on an iPad, and it's always awkward. Yeah. Or like standing, classic wrestling, standing, watching. At least they're like talking, and they're like, oh, guys, wait, Thea's on. And then they watch it live. Like the little thing just made it seem earlier, like the girls were watching Stephanie Vacour. Like even that wasn't last week's episode, but it was a little thing here as they cut into Thea's interview. And
I just enjoyed their like chopped tees commercial for this t-shirt.
New shirt.
And then Andre Chase going, the attention to detail is incredible. I thought we were just going to get Dickie's voiceover coming, telling us about the super sale and sale builders and all that. But
attention to detail.
Yeah, that Chase U now there's no real hint of animosity between any of them. They all seem to be getting along quite fine now. For now.
Thea's being interviewed in the sit down here, and we have I'm going to call her Quinn McKay, but is that her name? Is it Quinn McKay?
Kelly Kincaid.
Kelly Kincaid is talking to her and being like, hey, look, a year ago at the Great American Bash, you put Tiffany to the test, and like you were really close to being champ. And Thea goes, yeah, I was, and Tiffany is a great competitor, and I really got there. I was really close, but I've grown a lot since then. And Kelly says, you know what you have, Thea? I realize you're a lot more cool, calm, and collective. You're not all that hyper anymore. You're really focused. And Thea says, yes, I am focused. And now I have a match against Roxanne Perez, like one of the best, if not the best women's wrestler in WWE. And I'm going to have the chance to face her for the title next week. And you know, ever since I let Ridge into my heart and let Ridge into Chase U, we've all let him in, and he's been great for us, and he's brought out a different side. And she says she's only 20 years old, but she thinks she could win the NXT Women's title next week. So kind of showing like actually Chase U's cool right now. So does that mean we are going to get a turn? We've been saying this every week for like 2 years, but like if it's all quiet on the Western Front, is that when things happen?
Yeah, I feel it's I don't feel Rox is losing her title anytime soon. No. She's got to have the Julia match and the Vacour match, I'd imagine. But it's interesting that Thea's like, this is her event. She challenged for the title last year at Great American Bash. I think she's setting up something with Ridge. The way she's saying, like, you know, everyone has their faults, but he's a good guy and all that. You get the feeling Ridge is going to be the one to cost her next week.
Oh, throwing the towel? Just like Andre Chase?
Either that or trying to cheat and gets caught or something. I see it being Ridge who messes up.
I'm looking forward to this match, actually. Thea, we talked about Thea a year ago and how, like, you know, at such a young age has been pretty impressive. And I think the match next week will be even better at this point. I am liking the evolution of Chase U, and I don't want them to break up at this point, but I think it would eventually be inevitable that something happens. But I'm liking the new T-shirt too, black with red, look good. Wolfpack. We go to Trick Williams taking on Cedric Alexander. Remember Cedric Alexander? He's had many moments here in Florida.
Was this Cedric Alexander?
Yeah. He looks a lot different, and then the match started. Different. He looked a lot different here. This match starts off. Cedric goes for some really weak chops, and so weak that people in the crowd were like, boo, literally like that. And then Trick comes back with chops of his own, and they were very, very loud, very, very good. There's a head scissors spot where Cedric goes for it, and it was a bit of a slip up here where I don't know what happened, but eventually it's like Cedric goes for a cover for a near fall, but a little messy there. Cedric comes back with a handspring into a kick, and then he hits a leg trip STO on Trick on the apron, and then drops his back onto the apron. I know Cedric likes to work the lumbar just like a one Roddy Strong, so he is attacking the back of Trick. We go to a commercial break. When we come back, Trick now comes firing back. He hits a huge flapjack and then a discus boot, almost like a discus thrust kick from Trick, actually. And he's got these long legs, which look pretty awesome, but only a 2 count. Cedric comes back with a Michinoku driver. He hits one of the best ones of those. He can still hit that pretty good, but only a 2 count. And then eventually there's a bookend for a near fall, but he didn't get enough mustard on that one. And Cedric kicks out of it. And then Cedric goes for a suplex and then an arm bar, but eventually Trick withers his way out of that and then hits the Trick shot. 1, 2, 3. Trick pins Cedric. And then they shake hands afterwards. But you kind of said at the beginning here, Cedric looked a little off. I'm not sure what really was the issue. I don't know if it was a little bit of ring rust or he hasn't been on TV in a little while, but something was a little off in this match.
I thought he looked really rough. He's bulked up a lot. He's put some size on. But he's trying to still work the old style. And commentary were pointing out that he's put on muscle, but they'll go, oh, and he's still as quick as ever. But he really wasn't. He looked just a step behind. I thought he didn't look as smooth. This is a guy, we think right back to the Cruiserweight Classic when he got his contract and stuff. He was so impressive, and we've seen him be impressive. I feel he needs to either adapt his style or drop some of the weight so he can wrestle that style that we're used to, because he looked like the weak one here, I thought, of the two. And normally with Trick, it's his opponent are kind of like picking him up. But I thought Trick looked the more comfortable person in the ring right here. I didn't really like this match. I thought it was a shame. Cedric, someone I'm like, oh yeah, like he's someone being misused and could do a bit of an NXT run. But man, if this is what we're getting, I don't know.
Yeah, I think back to the Cruiserweight Classic when everyone was cheering, signed Cedric. I think back to Ring of Honor, any independents, he was usually the show stealer, and he's fantastic. And I wouldn't just say off one match, he's lost it or anything, but I was definitely going into this like, oh, this should be really good, and I didn't necessarily think that after the match. So maybe there was a few missteps there, but not necessarily the best match on this show. But after the match, Pete Dunne attacks Trick here and starts stomping on his head. So clearly we are going to Pete Dunne versus Trick, whether it's next week or the week after for the Great American Bash. And I think that could be a pretty good match too. Like we said, Pete's kind of like farting around. You said he's on the main roster, but he was down here with Tyler Bate and then he got injured. So it's not a bad match to put on TV for sure. I'm definitely interested in seeing these two styles clash. So I'm assuming we get this very soon.
Yeah, trying to build up Pete as a heel on both brands, and I think this would be a good match for Trick. I imagine, week 2 of Great American Bash, I would think.
We see Ethan Page. He's talking to, is it Stevie and Stone, SNS, and he's talking about how he wants to get rid of this pest Oro, and they're like, oh, this, and they're kind of bickering, and Stone says, yeah, you're lucky to be champ because he pinned you, and he's like, excuse me, and then they start like arguing, and he's all upset, and he goes, I need to talk to Ava, and he kind of storms off here. So Ethan Page is very upset, and we'll see just how upset he gets a little later. We see
it's kind of the same issue I'm having with AEW right now, where we've got all these authority figures who are doing Tony Khan's job, but Tony's there. And this was the case on this show. We saw Sean, and then just below Sean is Ava, and then we saw these two right below them. And it's, do we need all these characters?
I don't like it,
yeah, there's just too much. And I don't know, I don't know what's going on with Stevie. Is she still injured? Are they wanting to move her away from in-ring stuff? Because we haven't seen her wrestle for months, I feel.
She's not even Twitch streaming. She's just being an assistant to the assistant to the assistant general manager. We see Kalani and a few of the backstage talents watching. I think they're watching TikToks or something, and they said, "Hey, did you see that? Like Tatum posted this video," and we see a video of Tatum Paxley playing with these dolls in a dollhouse. And if you watch while they're doing this segment, Wendy Chu walks by, really creepy, like staring, and then Kalani's like, "Oh, Tatum, that's super weird, super creepy, that's weird," and like walks off, kind of like scared. And then Oro Mensah walks in, and I'm not familiar with these two girls here. I didn't recognize them. And he's like,
no,
"Oh, excuse me, ladies," and he's like selling the back from the match. He's like, "Could you please point me in the direction of the trainer's room? I'm really injured. I'm hurt from my match." And then they're like, "Oh yes, of course." And they like both grab him and they got their arms over him and they're carrying him towards the trainer's room. But then he looks back and he gives a little wink to the camera here, like Michael Jackson at the end of Thriller. So, sorry, this is Ashantee, not Oro Mensah. Ashantee the Adonis, Ashantee. Yes, as we've seen him last week. So Ashantee being the smartest man in WWE, he's like, I got to go to NXT, and then he's in NXT. He's like, hold on a second, maybe NXT Love Island ain't so bad. So I thought this was pretty good. I got to chuckle out of that, and I would like to see this play into more of his character down the line. Yeah. And hey, maybe he's still going after Jakara.
Yeah, I like it. I think it's going to help him grow as a character and be identifiable, because even in Hit Row, he was the other guy, wasn't he?
Yeah.
You know, it was all Swerve and Top Dollar really, and Ashantee was kind of the forgotten one. So I think this will help him be remembered. I just looked up Stevie Turner, and she's been wrestling in a bunch of live shows and stuff. So clearly this is just the character they want for her right now.
Right. We go to our next match. Sol Ruca and Karmen Petrovic taking on Jakara Jackson and Lash Legend, the metaphor. Are we calling this sword surfers? She's got a sword.
Sword surfers?
I'm just saying that's what I'm calling them, because all right. This was Sol Ruca and Karmen Petrovic playing the best of hits of the Young Bucks in this match. They hit the whole 10 moves in a row that the Bucks usually did, at least back in the day. The springboard X Factor, the moonsault off the apron, everything, the DDT combo thing, literally play by play of the Young Bucks. So hey, they're following some pretty creative wrestlers here, because they were hitting all these crazy moves. So like I said, there's a springboard X Factor from Sol Ruca to Lash. There's then this assist kick double team. Again, the Young Bucks do that move a lot with Karmen, kicking both of them. Lash comes in though and hits a pretty big kick of her own to the gut of Sol Ruca as they start to double team her and beat down on her. Eventually, there's a double super kick party to Jakara on the apron. And then there's another super kick party to Lash Legend in the ring. And then Petrovic does this spinning DDT kicking combo move, which looked pretty good onto Lash, but it's only a 2 count. Sol does her moonsault to the outside, but it eventually leaves, I think, Sol in the ring. There's a huge punch by Lash. And then she hits this, is it the Argentinian backbreaker? It's one of the classic lucha moves where it's almost like a torture rack. But then when you spin, you drop them face first, almost into a bulldog. A pretty cool looking move here. Onto Karmen, it was on actually. And then Lash pins Karmen in a bit of an upset here, considering I thought Sol and Karmen were doing some incredible looking moves, double team moves. And then right after, Lash says, "Skrr, Isla and Alba, you said you defend those titles anywhere. Well, how about you defend them against the brightest stars in the galaxy next week? We challenge you." So looks like we got ourselves a women's tag team title match next week. And I like Lash and Jakara. I didn't see too much out of Jakara in this match, but I was like a little bummed if we're getting the tag team title match. I think I would have preferred my sword surfers here because they were kind of the more impressive in this match.
Yeah, I feel Metaphor are more likely to be an act to move up sooner. So maybe that's why they want to give them a bit of a main roster kind of style match. I don't know. I quite enjoyed the match. I still feel Jakara is someone I haven't seen a great lot of the actual wrestling in general. But what I will say is both her and Lash do bring a lot of personality into their matches. Like they're always in character. They're always like doing little things that that kind of add something to it. And Lash has improved a lot. Like she's been around for a while now, and it took a while for her to kind of pick things up, but I think she's looking so much better and has some great like power moves. But yeah, I think their act is pretty fun. So I'm not completely against them facing the Witches next week. And yeah, I kind of like Soul and Karmen as a team. I know we've got Jade and Bianca taking on the Witches again soon, but I really want these titles to just be dropped to an NXT team because I think there's so much more to do with the tag titles in NXT because they're always booked as an afterthought on the main roster. Like they said, they haven't defended these titles since they've won them at Clash at the Castle, which seems ages ago now. And I think it would be regularly featured on NXT. You've already got some teams. You've got your Soul and Karmen. You've got your Metaphor. Yeah, I don't see why you shouldn't just drop it down to them at some point. Once SummerSlam's over, just give it to NXT for 3 months, you know?
It's like a title. All titles are props, but it's legit just like something for other women's division wrestlers to do. If you're not in the main picture, it's like you may have a mid-card feud that doesn't really get much time or heat behind it, and then there's the tag. So it's like it's the same thing in NXT. So when they got rid of the titles, it's like, why would you be a team? Like the fact that like on the main roster, you got the what is it? The Scissor Shields? I forget. I don't know what they're calling themselves yet, but the three of those like they're going to go for the titles clearly. But if you're in NXT, like we just seen the new BFFs with JCJ and the new Toxic Attraction, it's like, well, you can't go for titles because we don't have them. So it wouldn't be a bad idea to have them flip-flop around on all the different shows to give some of these women something to do. Definitely. But
and it's a way you can get an NXT act if you want to do the soft call-up. You can have them on Raw or SmackDown every now and then to defend those titles.
Because if you put like Karmen and Soul, who are completely getting better and better as well. Like I agree. The only person who didn't really shine in this match is Jakara. And I can't still really tell if she's a good wrestler or not, because she hasn't really wrestled a whole lot. It's usually Lash who does a lot of the heavy lifting. So I would like to see Soul and Karmen kind of go forward. I thought they were really impressive. Mind you, they're just doing a lot of the Bucks moves, but like it works and the crowd like it and they were connecting. And I thought they were pretty impressive. So maybe that's something we see down the line. Get called up together as a team or something. But yeah, we see Trick Williams and Shawn Michaels backstage. Trick is upset and he's like, when are you going to give me my match with Ethan Page? And Shawn's like, I don't know. I'm so sorry. Leave me alone. And he's like, all right. And he leaves and he goes, I want a match with Pete Dunne. I'm going to bust his ass. And Shawn's like, all right, I'll make it happen. And this is when Roxanne Perez, she shows up and she's just steaming. She's very angry at Papa Shawn here. And she says, like, what? You give Thea Hail an exclusive sit-down interview, but you don't give me the champ? Like, where's my... And he's getting yelled at. And it's almost like he's like, can someone please get her an interview? And she's like, forget it, and walks off. And then he's just like, go to commercial. Please, just go to commercial as they go to commercial. So poor Shawn. Everyone's just... This is what it's like being a dad. Just all the time. Your kids...
I mean, that's why he's got three assistants, I think.
Yeah, I guess. They're not doing a good job because they just keep coming.
Go to Robert Stone. Yeah.
I
mean, I feel for Rox. She's had no presence this week. Like, where's her time? She's the champ.
Yeah, true. We get a video package here. Say his name and he appears. Joe Hendry. A video showcasing pretty much his whole career here. I thought this was pretty great, especially if you are not familiar with Joe Hendry. You watch this and you know exactly what this guy is all about. He says it's been a crazy few months. He says it's crazy to believe the entire planet believes in Joe Hendry. And it shows different clips of people online freaking out when they saw him show up last week and the week before. Shout out the wrestling club. They got to watch him debut on NXT and they lost their minds. And they're showing all these different videos, the billboard in Scotland, which he paid £1,000 for apparently. And he says, but don't just think I'm a flash in the pan and an overnight success. He says, I've been doing this since 2004. And he says, I've put in my 10,000 hours of training in the ring. I've been in the studios and I've been heavy on social media, making myself known. And then it shows that his song went all the way to number 4 on the British charts just a little while ago. And at one point, he was ahead of Taylor Swift and Beyonce at one point. So also pretty cool here, but just like highlighting, showing him clips of him wrestling, showing clips of like him doing the songs and all this stuff. So really a great snapshot. They've uploaded this on their socials as well. So go check it out if you haven't, because
use TNA footage as well. Like some of his skits from TNA, and it had a couple of clips from Slammiversary at the weekend. Yeah. But no, I thought this was great, because if you're just a WWE viewer and you haven't really got what all this buzz is about, it kind of showed you who this guy is.
Yeah, and like we have watched this guy on the indies for quite a while, and TNA and all these places. So finally he's getting that shine. And you know what? We watched Slammiversary. We gave all our thoughts on our Sunday show, but I thought he shined in that match. The main event for Slammiversary was pretty good. And the thing with him and Josh Alexander, which I'm sure it's going to spin off into, I hope somehow leads to the reunited North in NXT. I'll just keep praying and hoping for that. But I thought that was a pretty good part of the show. So this video was great. And they say that next week on the Great American Bash, Joe Hendry live in concert. That's right. We're getting our first look at a Joe Hendry original song next week on NXT. As it cuts to Gallus leaving in the parking lot, and they're fuming, they're mad. Oh, they go, that Muppet Joe Hendry, and then Wolfgang calls him something, and I was like, I don't know what you just said, brother. I really tried hard to listen to what they were calling him, but I don't know what you're saying. They then say that they're so furious, and Joe Coffey says that, you know what, next week at the Great American Bash live in concert, how about I face him one-on-one? And then they get to their car and they start to realize that there's flyers for Joe Hendry in concert live next week. And then Gallus's car, which I don't believe was green, by the way, was just littered in these flyers for next week. And they get so furious, and Coffey once again shakes his hair, and it's flying all over the place and stuff. But pretty funny, because after they went off the air, people on social media, some of the fans in attendance, all pointed out that every car in the parking lot got a signed Joe Hendry poster. He went and physically signed every single one and put them on every car. So imagine you're not even there for like the PC or something. You're just there for like, I don't know, the subway across the street, and you're like, oh, what's this autographed photo? Oh, these flyers on my car. But I thought this was a little attention to detail. And for anyone else who's been on social media and seen some of these Joe Hendry songs, this is exactly what he does. So I imagine he does the song right before the match, right? And it's probably singing about how Gallus sucks and all this stuff.
Are we definitely getting the match though next week? That I wasn't sure, because
like
it was it was like Joe wanted the match, and then he's like, "Oh, we're not having the match because he's got this concert." So I don't know if next week might be a setup for a match the week after.
Right.
I imagine the song is going to be all about Gallus. And making fun of them. But yeah, I was wondering earlier, like, oh, is that a chance for like Josh Alexander to come in next week? It seems like this Gallus feud is going on at the moment, although I'm with you. I hope a reteaming of the North does come down the line, maybe once this Gallus feud is over.
But it's great to see this guy like getting so popular and singing done right in wrestling. And he's been pretty funny. And if you've been following, he's been doing it all by himself. He usually doesn't have a lot of the help of like a WWE. So now that he kind of does, I'm wondering if they amp up the production or something like that. Like the sky is the limit if you can capture the lightning in the bottle of like a singer parody song wrestler kind of thing. I don't know. I think it could be pretty good. So shout out XTNA, as someone in the chat just dropped. Yes, XTNA. And sorry, NXTNA, of course. I've got to say it right.
I mean, I think already what we're seeing is because we had the TNA AEW crossover, and there wasn't any reference of TNA at all, pretty much on AEW. All you had was the Good Brothers were on there, you know, and that's because they were with the Elite and all that. Whereas here we're getting like the Rascalz and Joe Hendry are weekly characters at this point, and are being heavily focused and being like put over, winning matches and stuff like that, which you've got to think helped this Slammiversary show at the weekend with it being a sellout. Obviously, the PCO and Speedball Mike Bailey, I think, have a lot to do with that as well. But I definitely think this TNA NXT crossover and the way they've been featuring Joe Hendry and the Rascalz on TV definitely helped that show on Saturday.
Yeah, it was a little bit of a perfect storm, I think, with like, you know, Montreal local indie wrestling promoting it heavily. And then, hey, we do have a bit of a crossover, and some of these characters are really popular right now. So good for them. It was a good show if you didn't watch the first like 3 or 4 matches of the pay-per-view. If you didn't, it was a really good show. We go to Twitter clip because Isla Dawn and Alba Fire have agreed. These witches use Twitter, and they agree for this match next week for the tag title. So we will be seeing Metaphor taking them on. But Ethan Page, he grabs a referee and he's like, hey, you're a referee, right? I want you to come with me for a second. And he kind of drags the referee out. And then we go to the ring. Ethan Page has this ref in the middle of the ring. And he says, I need to make things right. You're a licensed WWE official, right? And he goes, yeah. He goes, well, last week when Oro Mensah pinned me to the mat, that wasn't an actual sanctioned match. That wasn't a match at all. And this is when the crowd are really heavily chanting 1, 2, 3. And this worked so into the favor of this whole storyline from the segment earlier in the night. And he goes, look, you referees, you usually suck, but it's time for you to do the right thing. Thank you. And he goes, yeah, the referee says, you're right, Paige. Like last week, you weren't in a match or anything. He just decided to pin you, and that was that. And he goes, thank you. This is when Oro Mensah shows up, like the chicken in Family Guy, and goes to attack Ethan Page. Ethan swings at him, but Oro ducks, rolls him up with a schoolboy, and this referee decides, fuck it. 1, 2, 3, and counts it, and the crowd go absolutely nuts. Oro dips out of the ring. Ethan Page is furious. And he's like, what just happened here? And he's like, oh, sorry. The ref just kind of shrugs his shoulders like, I don't know. I felt like counting it, I guess. And Ethan is just like even more upset and then runs to the back, as we'll kind of see after. I mean, I might as well get into that part. Oh, wait, is that the very end of the show? But he's just like furious that this has happened now twice in 2 weeks. So I thought this was pretty funny. And I thought Ethan Page kind of shitting on refs, but then also trying to be like disingenuous with him was pretty funny.
Yeah, absolutely. And the ref kind of, you wonder, because it was the last line, wasn't it? It was like, you know, this guy, like, and he's an official, and normally I don't like refs. I think they're all a load of like rubbish. Yeah. So it's kind of there. It's like, fuck it, I'll count the pin.
Yeah.
And now Oro's got a chant, and you know that helps in wrestling. You catchy entrance, have a chant that goes over. If your thing's 1, 2, 3, like, let's roll with it.
The 1, 2, 3 kid.
The new 1, 2, 3 kid. No, I think they've done a good job building this feud. I don't know if I like Page so soon in his run as champion looking like a bit of a joke. You know, like fluking the title win, and then his match with Dante Chen wasn't overly convincing, and now all of these roll-ups. I think it's doing great for Oro. I'm not sure for Page how legitimate it's making him seem.
I will say, for me, like, his wrestling has never been too flashy. He's usually better as a heel. I've been liking this promo than some of the promo stuff he's done when he first came in. It was kind of bland, whereas here, like, making fun of the ref and everything, like, he's back to being the dickhead, but also funny. So I think he definitely excels in that in any time. We will get to that match. We see Tony D and the family with the no quarter catch crew, and he's like, look at you guys. I didn't know you had it in you, helping her cheat to win. And he goes, I'm feeling like it's a Great American Bash. How about I put the cup on the line, but because it's American Bash, how about we face an American Olympian with the Olympics happening in the next few weeks? Why don't I put the cup on against your boy here, who was on the 2020 Greco-Roman Wrestling, Tavion Heights? So they agree, and next week it's Tony in a Heritage Cup match against Heights 1-on-1. And yes, NXT and Raw will be on the Sci-Fi channel because it's the Olympics in Paris with Snoop Dogg. It's one of the hosts. So watch your NXT on Sci-Fi.
On the stand, as they keep reminding me.
Who is?
Have you not seen this commercial with Spielberg?
Oh, yeah, right, yeah.
Talking all about, and it's the first time they're going to do it on the River Seine.
Right, yeah.
So that's cool.
So Olympics happening soon. It must be starting soon, right?
Yeah, I doubt Heights is winning this, seeing that he's off to Japan very soon. But it would be kind of cool to see him. We haven't seen him in a one-on-one for a while, have we? And not since the NQCC he's joined that. So yeah, looking forward to that. Both kind of wrestling style, suplexes, all that should be good.
Mm-hmm. He's very impressive. So I definitely will have to try to check out some of the N1 stuff when he's over there with Briggs and all that. But yeah, that is next week. Also next week, I mentioned Thea Hail versus Roxanne for the women's championship. We have Tavion versus Tony. We got Jakara and Lash versus the Witches. And we got the Joe Hendry live in concert, and possibly more matches announced soon, whether Trick and Pete Dunne are next week or the week after. But we go to our main event of NXT tonight, the Rascalz on the Rascalz reunion tour here in the flesh. Smoke them if you got them, taking on the team of the NXT tag champions, Axiom and Nathan Frazer and Javon Evans. Things start off here with Trey Miguel and Axiom, and they have a great little back and forth where they're going so fast. This was a tough match to try to review and recap because these are three of the most fastest wrestlers in the game today. And I mean, normally we say that about Axiom and Frazer, but now you have Javon and the Rascalz put in there. This match was absolutely crazy. In fact, I'd say if you haven't watched this, you should probably go and watch this match because this was great. So this was super fast. There's all sorts of different Ranas and kip-ups early on. Eventually, Javon and Wes are at it, and they're hitting each other with a series of different kicks. Wentz tags in and does a very long Bronco Buster. This Bronco Buster went on for at least 30 seconds. Like X-Pac, the 1-2-3 kid watching, would be very, very proud because he's doing the Bronco Buster while everyone else starts fighting. So Wentz looks around and he's like, fuck it. And he just keeps humping the guy's face. So, wow, what a Bronco Buster that was. Eventually, though, everyone gets sent to the outside, and Javon hits his huge over-the-top dive onto everyone. Wentz sees that and goes, I'll one-up you, and then hits his moonsault off the top to the outside onto everyone. And then it goes to picture-in-picture, and even in picture-in-picture, there's all sorts of crazy stuff. Trey's hitting like a tope atomico and all sorts of different tag moves. When we come back, though, from commercial, there's the standing star press from Frazer, and then a huge pop-up knee from Wentz to Frazer in midair. There was almost like a V-trigger that stopped him in his tracks. Trey's back in with the mushroom stomp, and then like a page turner on Javon for a near fall, which just crushed him here. Eventually, they hit the triple drop kick. I love the Rascalz, but I'm not too high on this triple drop kick because it looks like they don't ever actually hit the guy with it.
I still think it looks pretty cool.
It looks cool, but like, I know it's wrestling, but imagine you're in a fight and you're like, hold on, we're going to hit this move. Like one guy's hitting him in the knee, one guy's hitting him in the stomach.
I mean, you could say that about 95% of
especially
moves
this match.
Yeah, why are you flipping to do a splash on someone? Just fucking punch them in the face. Like,
I love these guys, and it's so awesome to see them. But this move, I'm like, you never really actually hit them when you do the triple kick, but it's still pretty cool. Frazer kicks out of that though, and then this is when it's breaking down even more. All six guys are hitting all sorts of craziness. It's eventually Javon who hits the triple jump cutter onto Trey. This guy goes like out of orbit to hit this move. It's insane. And then there's a Spanish fly from Axiom off the top, a Phoenix splash, but in the last 2.999, the other Rascalz shoved the other guys onto them to break it up. This is now when Wentz is like, oh, you hit a pretty cool looking cutter. How about I hit mine? And his is like almost like the Soul Snatcher, but like jumps off the springboard into this crazy looking move. There's then a double stomp from Trey, and then the hot fire flame. And then as soon as Wes shoves Wentz to do it, Wes is already running and hits a tope con hilo to the outside, taking out everyone so they can't break up the pin off the hot fire flame. Wentz pins Axiom. Damn, what a match that was. After the match, they all shake hands, but you can tell the Rascalz just got a pin over one of the tag team champions, and you'd imagine they're looking at those titles.
And it was Wentz getting the pin, which must have been quite a nice feeling, I think, getting that pinfall in back in NXT.
Hell yeah.
So yeah, I mean, do you see it as Trey and Wentz going for it, or Wes?
That would be pretty cool. I mean, Freebird rule for sure with these guys.
I think you should, like, I'd put the title on these. I think it's about time we can, now you've got Axiom doing speed. That sounds weird. But you could break those guys up now, can't you? Like, you can have the excuse is, Frazer, although he was going for all these championships, he was still able to defend. As soon as Axiom does it, they lose their focus and you can split them up that way. But yeah, and then Freebird these titles. You can have them defended in TNA and NXT, and with a combination of these three guys, I think would be great. But this match was awesome, like real like PWG style. Went longer than normal. They started a little bit earlier than normal for the main event, so it got some time as well. But just absolutely non-stop. All six of these guys are so fast. I think it really wet my whistle of what a potential Wesley Javon Evans match could look down the road. Sure. And I'm talking, if you eventually strap Wesley up as the guy in NXT, that's definitely a main event you could do at one of these PLEs. And yeah, I love how normally I'm kind of mad when the camera misses it, but I loved how the pinfall happened because it was so quick with the hot flyer flame and Wes doing that con hilo.
Yeah.
And you're seeing him take down everyone and you just hear the count, the 1, 2, 3, which kind of just showed how frantic this whole thing was. I thought this was excellent. One of the best NXT matches for quite a while, I thought. Really, really good stuff and highly recommend it to people.
Yeah. This was even better than the no quarter catch crew match on Saturday on Slammiversary, which was also like, I think really fun.
Played to their strengths more. I think you had with the no quarter catch crew being more mat based and wrestling, like you couldn't allow the Rascalz to do quite as much as their crazy high flying. Whereas I thought you got it all from all of them here. It was so much fun.
Yeah, this was great to see all three of these guys back in action. But also, like, I've been loving Axiom and Frazer. I've been loving Javon Evans. He's one of my favorites to watch on this show. So this was really a great like whole conglomeration of all this great fast paced wrestling. So I'd watch these six do this like repeatedly all the time. So I do hope we go to a Rascalz v Axiom and Frazer, maybe possibly week 2 of Great American Bash for the titles. And I'd give them the titles right away. And yeah, Freebird rule, or have Wentz and Trey and then give the world title to Wes. Just the Rascalz revolution here on NXT. Yeah. I'm all for it. So burn one for the Rascalz because this was pretty great. So if we go to a tag match, I think that they'll even like step it up, like, make it even crazier for a tag title match. So this was pretty great and definitely got me feeling like, oh man, we got some great wrestling on NXT this week with this match and the opening match on the show as well, with the violence and stuff. So really, really good bookend of some good stuff. It does cut to Ethan Page after the match, and he's finally talking with Ava, the assistant to the general manager, and says that he wants Oro Mensah. And she goes, well, I don't know. It sounded like you didn't want anything to do with him. And he goes, I don't care. I want him, even if I have to put the NXT title on the line. So that's exactly what's going to happen. Next week, there's a contract signing, and week 2, Ethan Page will face Oro Mensah. As NXT went off the air, and I tried to guess what movie they were playing, but I turned it off.
What was it?
I don't know. I turned it off, but I did like how in the segment with the ref, Ethan Page was referencing Law and Order, and I had the USA Network on before NXT, like for 2 minutes, and I'm like, oh, there's the end of Law and Order or whatever the hell they play. So I thought that was pretty funny. But yeah, a pretty good episode of NXT. Like I said, the opening match with Brooks Jensen and Josh Briggs really delivered for me, and I'm so happy for those guys, especially Brooks Jensen stepping up in this new evolution of his character. But also the Rascalz being here is just brings this flavor of, like, I don't know, excitement for a little while. Like, I don't want this to wear off just yet. I like seeing these three guys wrestle everybody and anybody, and just having a good time while doing it and putting on some banging matches. But everything else, like, kind of, there wasn't anything that, like, necessarily, pissed me off or annoyed me this week. So I'd say thumbs up for this week's episode for me.
Yeah, I mean, considering it was a setup show for your next 2 weeks, I thought it was great. Like, when you're giving me 2 matches to, like, open and close the show as good as they were tonight, I'm happy. And yeah, I'm looking forward to Great American Bash. I think they've got some nice stuff lined up.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're going to have 2 weeks of the Great American Bash. Like we said, a bunch of different matches scattered over the next few. And I'm sure we will get some announcements of some others added, whether it's Trick Pete Dunne, this tag title match, and a few others. But it should be pretty good. Pretty good. That's what we thought of NXT. You should join our Facebook group, search Poisonrana, like the page, but join the group as well, as we post feedback threads here. And I see we got one. It seems like Magan forgot it was Tuesday. Magan, I hope you're all right. I mean, maybe you took the night off. But
no, we got one from Magan.
Oh, I only see Frank. I'm sorry. My apologies, Magan. I was worried. I'm like, Magan, you always write in here. We have one. Oh, I see. He just an hour ago. So I didn't have it refreshed. But Fire Frank writes in, our young Brooks became a man tonight. What a brutal, hard-hitting fight with Briggs. Pete clearly never forgot when Trick called him Skeet Dunn. Yes, Frank. Forgot about that. Skeet Dunn. And Frank continues, that main event was Shane O'Mac's dream. It was sick. Bring on the bash. Thank you, Frank.
And we go to Magan, who says, a well-rounded episode with some good matches and solid. The six-man tag was awesome. Wentz scoring the pinfall on Axiom should lead to MSK versus Supersonic duo for the tag titles on either night of the bash. Unholy Union are finally defending their tag titles. What was the hold-up? I'll never know. Cedric Alexander and Trick Williams put on a good one, and Brooks Jensen grew up and he sent Briggs to the East. N1. Strong show.
There you go. Thank you for writing in, Mag. And I got worried when you didn't. It wouldn't be Tuesday night without you guys writing in there. Appreciate everyone out there listening. We're here live on the Post Wrestling YouTube page. We go live every Tuesday night after NXT at 10:15 p.m. Eastern time is when we start. So tune in on Tuesdays if you're watching NXT or not. Catch the replay on the Post YouTube. But search Poisonrana in your podcast app or on YouTube and hit that subscribe and check out all the other podcasts that we do. Like we said, we got a lot of shows. We talk about stuff on Sundays. You're going to be joined by Stephanie Chase on Sunday to chat everything going on with AEW and everything else. And Liv and Rhea Ripley and Dom, custody of Dominic, possibly not a ladder match, but custody of Dominic definitely happened again. The turn with Liv is definitely happening, right? He said some mean things to Liv.
Dom's joining Liv for sure. Yeah.
I saw the clip from Raw and it's like, oh man, he's picking classic, a nice, sweet American girl, but the guy picks the goth chick over. I don't think he will. I think he's going to switch it up, but I've been loving his mullet and mustache. So you're going to chat all about that. You're going to chat about a lot of things on Sunday, and follow us on all the socials at Poisonrana Pod, Twitter and Instagram. And yeah, I myself, Braden Herrington. You can find me on Twitter, Instagram at the Brady.
And you can find me at Davie Portman.
Appreciate everyone out there listening. Again, Toronto area. Hopefully we see you at our SummerSlam watch party in a few weeks. But appreciate you listening. Take care. Goodbye. Be safe. And as the Iron Sheik once said, fuck the Hulk Hogan.
Hoy!